This week on A Brit in Poland, I am in Zamość. Actually, I've been looking forward to coming to Zamość for a few years now. It's one of those places where it's a little bit hit and miss on the train connections from Warsaw, but we got lucky and we actually came here for the wine festival this year, which, although it kind of obscured the view of the market somewhat, it did give us plenty of lovely wine to taste. Zamość, it dates back to about 1580, and Jan Zamość basically commissioned some Italian artist, I'll bring up his name later on, to design this city. So it's got a very kind of Renaissance Italian feel. Some say it is the most beautiful city in Poland. Others call it the Padua of the North. So we're going to have a look around. There are a lot of nice buildings, a few nice museums, nice parks, and of course, wine, squares, and atmosphere. So please stay tuned. Thank you very much for watching. Dzień dobry and welcome to A Brit in Poland. With this channel, I travel across the country, I bring you the culture, and I show you just how amazing Poland is. So I invite you on my journey. If you want to see more, I have Facebook and Instagram profiles, which you will find links to in the description below. And if you want to really help out, you can turn to my Patreon or Patronite accounts, again in the description. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy this video. Please like, share and subscribe. Do zobaczenia.
Zamość isn't a city you stumble into, it's a city you enter. Built at the end of the 16th century, Zamość was designed deliberately, not to grow organically, but to function as an ideal Renaissance city, planned, defended, and controlled. From the moment you cross its outer fortifications, the change is noticeable. The streets become ordered, the space becomes contained, and the city feels set apart from what surrounds it. This isn't just one of the most beautiful cities in Poland, it's one of the most intentional. In this video, I want to look at Zamość in layers, the vision behind its creation, the fortress that protected it, and the life that now fills its squares, museums, and streets. Because Zamość isn't just about what you see at first glance, it's about what's been preserved, what's been defended, and what still endures inside the walls. So let's slow down and step inside. To understand Zamość, you need to start with intent. This city didn't grow by accident. Zamość was founded in 1580 by Jan Zamość, one of the most powerful figures in the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Zamość didn't want a settlement, he wanted a statement. To bring that vision to life, Zamość commissioned the Italian architect Bernardo Morando, drawing heavily on Renaissance ideas coming out of Italy at the time. The result was something rare in this part of Europe, a city designed from the ground up to be orderly, symmetrical, and functional. Zamość was meant to be a center of trade, a seat of learning, a private power base, and a city that could defend itself. Every street, square, and facade was planned with that balance in mind. But Zamość wasn't just beautiful, it was fortified. The city was surrounded by modern bastion fortifications, form what became Twierdza Zamość, one of the most advanced defensive systems in the region. This wasn't decorative architecture, it was practical, calculated, and built for conflict. And that preparation mattered. During the Swedish deluge in the mid-17th century, when much of Poland was burned, looted, and devastated, Zamość resisted. While other cities fell, Zamość held firm. It was the only major Polish city not captured during the invasion. That survival shaped everything that followed. Over the centuries, Zamość passed through different hands, from the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth to periods under foreign rule during the partitions of Poland. Yet, unlike many cities that were repeatedly destroyed and rebuilt, Zamość remained largely intact. Its form endured, its core survived. That continuity is rare, and you can still feel it today. The 20th century brought its own scars. During the Second World War, sites like Rotunda Zamoyska became places of execution and trauma. Even a city designed for order and protection could not shield itself from modern brutality. But once again, Zamość endured. What makes Zamość different isn't just its beauty, it's the fact that the city you see today is not a reconstruction or an approximation. It is, in many ways, the original idea still standing. A city built to last, protected by walls, shaped by vision, and defined by its ability to hold. And to see how that vision lives on, we need to step inside the city itself. Once you step inside the old town, the shift is immediate. The noise drops, the space opens, and everything starts to feel deliberate. Zamość doesn't ease you in, it presents itself. Rynek Wielki, theatre by design. So, at the heart of the city is Rynek Wielki, one of the most striking market towns in Poland, perfectly proportioned, surrounded by arcades, and dominated by the town hall. This feels less like an organic meeting place and more like a stage. Not accidental, not improvised, designed to be seen. The town hall doesn't blend in, it asserts itself. Its tower rises above the square as a reminder of who this city was built for and how it was meant to function. This is power expressed architecturally, calm, ordered, unapologetic. Arcades and Armenian houses, colour within control. What stops the square from feeling cold are the details. The arcade houses, many once owned by Armenian merchants, add colour, rhythm and texture to the space. Each facade is individual, but none of them break the rules. That balance, expression within limits, it's one of Zamość's defining traits, a city that wants you to stroll. Despite its formality, Zamość is easy to move through. The streets feel ordered, legible, and welcoming to walkers. There are quieter moments too, narrow alleys, hidden passages, small breaks in symmetry where the city softens slightly. Enough to remind you this isn't a model, it's a place. One thing you quickly notice here is the density of museums. They don't interrupt the old town, they belong to it. Rather than overwhelming, they add weight, each one acting like a window into a different layer of the city's purpose: governance, defense, trade, memory. You don't feel pressured to see everything, you feel invited to go deeper. During the day, Zamość feels composed, impressive, slightly formal. It's a city that seems to expect respect before affection. You admire it first, the understanding comes later. And as evening approaches, the square changes character. Life gathers here, not chaotically but purposefully. A few quieter bars sit just off the main rhythm, while the center remains the focal point. Zamość doesn't sprawl outward at night, it condenses. While we were here, the old town was hosting its annual wine festival. Stalls filled the square, satellite stands spread into nearby spaces, and the strict geometry of the Rynek gave way to movement, cues, and conversation. It was crowded, but managed. Lively, but not overwhelming. The aroma of mulled wine mingles with laughter as stages pulse with music under strings of lights. Even with stages and structures temporarily obscuring parts of the square, it didn't feel disrespectful. It felt like the city allowing itself to breathe. And watching people beneath the town hall, Polish pop mixing with familiar Western classics, was a reminder that this isn't a preserved artifact. It's a city confident enough in its identity to host joy without losing itself. The old town of Zamość is beautiful, but more than that, it's disciplined. Everything here has a role, everything sits where it's meant to. And once you've spent time inside the walls, you start to understand why this place is so often admired and so deeply respected. Yet, Zamoś's design wasn't just about defense and order, it wove in spaces for the soul and daily rhythms, starting with its sacred sites. Zamość may have been designed as an ideal city, but it was never meant to be hollow. Faith, education, and community were always part of its foundation. And you feel that in the presence and scale of its churches. The cathedral, spiritual anchor. At the heart of the old town stands the cathedral, Parafia Zmartwychwstania Pańskiego, or Tomasza Apostoła. Built between 1587 and 1598, it was designed alongside the city itself, not added later. Its scale and placement reflect Zamoś's founding philosophy. Religion, governance, and education working together within a single system. This wasn't just a place of worship, it was a statement of continuity, authority, and identity within the ideal city. Calm, solid, and enduring, much like Zamość as a whole. Other churches? Layers, not competition. Beyond the cathedral, Zamość reveals its religious layers more quietly. The Kościoła Świętej Katarzyny, originally built in the 17th century, and the Kościoła Świętowiania Najświętszej Maria Pani, reflect moments of expansion, reform, and renewal. Rather than competing for dominance, they form a layered religious landscape, mirroring the city's long continuity rather than abrupt change. Each adds another thread to the story, reinforcing that this was always a place designed for permanence, not momentary display. Zamość was never intended to be culturally uniform. The Synagogue w Zamościu, built in the early 17th century, stands as a reminder of the city's Jewish community, many of whom were invited to settle here as traders, scholars, and craftsmen. Their presence was part of Jan Zamoyski's economic vision, a prosperous city built on openness, education, and exchange. Even seen from the outside, the synagogue anchors that multi-faith past quietly, without spectacle. And why these places matter? Well, together, these spaces complete the picture. The old town shows the idea, the fortifications show the defense, the churches, the synagogue, the zoo, they show continuity. Zamość wasn't built only to impress, it was built to function across generations. Once you step away from the old town, Zamość changes again. The geometry loosens, the space widens, and the city begins to show you how it protects what sits at its core. This outer ring isn't accidental, it's part of the same original vision. The Zamość fortress defense as a structure. The remains of Twierdza Zamość wrap around the old town like a buffer, part fortress, part boundary. What's striking is how seamlessly these defenses have been absorbed into everyday life. Where there were once walls and ramparts, there are now parks, paths, and green corridors, still marking the edge of the city, but in a quieter way. You always know when you're leaving or entering the historic core. Order gives way to space. The fortifications surrounding Zamość weren't an afterthought, they were part of the original plan. Construction of the fortress began in the late 16th century, shortly after the city itself was founded in 1580, following the latest Italian and Dutch military theories at the time. By the early 17th century, Twierdza Zamość was considered one of the most modern strongholds in the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. That preparation was tested during the Swedish deluge. While large parts of Poland were burned and devastated, Zamość resisted multiple sieges, never taken by force. One detail that's easy to miss is the shape of the fortress itself. Zamość was built using a bastion system, angular, star-like forms designed to eliminate blind spots and maximize defensive fire. Beneath the surface, the fortress extends even further. A network of underground tunnels and passages once allowed soldiers to move unseen, store supplies, and continue defending the city, even under siege. Walking these tunnels today adds a different kind of weight. You realize that Zamość wasn't just defended outwardly, it was prepared inwardly as well. That fact alone explains much of the city's confidence. This is not a city that remembers collapse, it remembers endurance. Outside the center, Zamość feels calmer, less theatrical and more functional, and this is where the city breathes. The perfection of the old town makes more sense once you see what surrounds it. Open space, managed greenery, and a clear separation between the ideal city and everything beyond it. Places like Park Miejski v Zamościa sit right alongside former defensive lines. Even here, nature feels organized, framed, given a role. It's not wilderness, it's balance. A reminder that Zamość doesn't spill outward, it contains itself. Walking these outer paths gives you a different perspective on the city. You start to see Zamość less as a collection of attractions and more as a complete system. A hard shell on the outside, carefully formed center within. This outer ring explains the confidence of the old town, why it feels preserved rather than frozen, and why it can host festivals, crowds, and celebration without losing its shape. Zamość was built to endure, and you feel that most clearly when you stand just outside its walls.
Having explored how Zamość was built and how it was defended, it's worth stepping back for a moment and looking at how the city works today for visitors. Just beyond the historic core of Zamość, you come across something that feels slightly unexpected. The Zamość Zoo, well, it doesn't belong to the Renaissance vision of the city, and it doesn't try to. But it does belong to Zamość. The zoo was founded in 1918, making it one of the older zoological gardens in eastern Poland. And that date matters. Zamość was emerging from a period of upheaval, partitions, war, and uncertainty. And institutions like this were part of how cities began to invest again in education, public life, and the future. The zoo wasn't created as a spectacle, it was created as a civic space.
Even today, that original intention still shows. This is a zoo focused on education and accessibility rather than scale. It's compact, walkable, and clearly designed with families in mind. There's time here to pause, to read, to observe. It feels measured and considered, very much in keeping with the wider character of Zamość. Beneath the town hall lies another layer of the city, explored via the underground route, or Trasa Turystyczna, the Podziemniak. The tickets for the underground tour are best booked through the local tourist information centre. The tour itself is guided, so numbers are controlled. It's a short experience, but a memorable one. Above ground, Zamość feels open and theatrical. Below ground, it feels practical, dense, and quietly serious. It adds a different kind of understanding, one you don't get just by walking the square. One of the best ways to understand Zamość is through the fortress tour, centered around the Museum Fortifications, and what you're really paying for is context. Walking the bastions and interior spaces turns the city from something you admire into something you understand. You have a knowledgeable guide and a fair walk inside the fortifications. It's not too long of a visit, but it adds real weight to everything you see later in the old town. And just outside the historic centre lies a place that changes the tone entirely, the Rotunda Zamościa. Built in the early 19th century as part of the city's fortifications, the rotunda later becomes a site of mass executions during the Second World War. Thousands of people, including members of the local population, resistance fighters, and civilians from the region, were murdered here during the German occupation. Today, the rotunda serves as a memorial and cemetery. It's not a place you linger for long, and it's not a place you narrate heavily, but its presence matters. It's a reminder that even a city designed for order and endurance could not shield itself from modern brutality. Visiting the rotunda adds gravity to everything else you see in Zamość. It grounds the beauty, and it earns the respect. After spending time here, Zamość feels less like a place you simply visit, and more like a place you come to understand. This is a city built with intent, planned, defended, and shaped to endure. You feel that in the geometry of the old town, in the weight of the fortifications, and even in the way life gathers inside the walls rather than spilling outward. Zamość is beautiful, undeniably so, but it isn't the beauty that tries to charm you immediately. It asks you to slow down, to walk, and to notice. And over time, that discipline becomes its strength. The churches anchor it, the fortress explains it, the museums give it depth. And moments like the wine festival show that this is not a preserved idea, but a living city, confident enough to celebrate without losing its shape. It survived where others fell, and that endurance still defines its character today. And Zamość rewards time and attention. You can see the highlights in a day, but to really appreciate the city, its history, and its atmosphere, it deserves more than a quick stop. This is a place to stroll rather than rush, to observe rather than conquer. Zamość may be called one of the most beautiful cities in Poland, but what stayed with me wasn't just how it looks, it was how it feels. Solid, intentional, enduring. A city you don't just admire, but one you respect. Thank you for watching another Brit and Poland classic. Please subscribe to see more of my work. Please like the video to help this channel grow. Thank you very much for watching. See you soon. Do zobaczenia.